Hiya, I am Sam. I never really say hiya. I just thought that would be not a bad thing to say, but I am back, recording again from my laptop. I don't have a dual setup because I'm a bit lazy this time. Today, I will be going through my weight loss journey, or as of recent weeks, my weight gain journey. I have a lot of time on my hands. I am waiting for my ankle to heal because of a unfortunate injury, but we won't get into that too much. So I have all this time to try to make myself a little bit less useless. I have been trying to make most of my time in learning and all that jazz. I've actually been learning a bit of coding in C and, getting my head around the syntax. But once you get into that whole spiel of learning, waking up, watching YouTube videos, getting into a binge, it's a bad habit to do. So I just wanted to break that up with recording myself, which is a great idea because I'm sure no one will watch this. But to be fair, this is mainly for myself. Just a review of how I have changed over the years. I haven't actually really appreciated how much I have changed for the better or the worse. And I think having a reflection on that is important. So that's why I'm creating this video. So this setup here really is I'm recording my screen, and at the same time I will be looking through a folder of photos that I've organized just by looking through my photos on my phone and looking through any photos sent by my mates and family. And on social media because I had the time to do that. And it's better than me binge watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine or The Office, which later seasons get a bit dull. So yeah, got my notes on my phone. I've actually went into a bit more detail here than I would usually go through because I am fairly passionate about this because I used to be a big boy. Let's just say that. Okay, so I'm going to start off from a pre-2019. So I'm going to review just quickly how I looked like. I think I have some kid photos, which I think is unfair on me because I think as a kid, I didn't really care about how much I ate, how I looked. It was all about learning, making friends, having fun, and yeah, it shows. So there's a 2011 photo of me here. Yeah, of me hitting a bloody kangaroo, and that's cute. The kangaroo, not too bad myself. Oh, yeah, I am a chubby boy. I enjoyed myself, and I loved the army hat, and I loved the orange shirt. Yeah, I did not, in any capacity, exercise, other than maybe futsal or badminton occasionally with my family. But yeah, and then there's me jumping straight to 2014. Me loving my sushi. I remember it was during the holidays, and I just loved making food with my mom. And yeah, I think I'm wearing a football kit underneath that. I don't know what team it was. But yeah, I am again a chubby boy. And I love my food. Okay, the biggest jump. I couldn't really find as many photos in between. As you can see, I actually hit puberty. And I was a bit lean. No, not lean. I just grew taller and I exercised more. I was playing a lot of sports. You could call me a jack of all trades, a master of none, because I wasn't bad at most of these sports, but I wasn't the best. And yeah, I would say around this time, I was maybe 76 kilos, 77 kilos. I hadn't yet grown to my current height now, but yeah, again, that's me at Glenny. I need to learn how to smile. Still don't know how to do that properly. Yeah, I wasn't actually fat here. I was exercising a decent amount. And I know during lunch I actually played a decent amount of basketball. I wasn't the best at it, but it was just fun playing with your mates, you know. So let's just 2018 me. That is me and my cousin. That was me in Indonesia for my uncle's wedding, and good memories. Good memories there. I'm actually not looking too shabby there. The hair could use a bit more combing, but yeah, pretty decent. And you know, I love my abang, my cousin there. Again, you can see how I started off not really caring, and then I got more into exercise. And this isn't really the main part of this video. I just wanted to give some context to how I kind of developed. So I got a lot more into sports as I got into my teens. Earlier on, you know, living in an Asian household, it was a decent amount of learning, to say the least. There is me. I was open with my dad and with my mate Yosh. I think I ate a little bit more in between those 2018, 2019 photos. And I have a couple more notes about that specifically. Why that happened. There is me as well in the awards night, and I look pretty good in a blazer. This is really just an ego boost and an ego fall for me throughout this video. But yeah, again, I didn't really have a set like exercise plan, or I wasn't really consciously thinking about what I ate up until this point. And really, your parents, and I think a lot of parents say that, you know, you're still growing, eat up, you know, at least you're going to, you know, grow until late 19s, late teenagers. But I think that advice, although it means well, I think it's still important to develop a good habit in terms of eating and exercising, and sleeping. I think sleep is a big thing as well, and that kind of faltered in later years. So yeah, that is my pre-2019 phase, where I just didn't really focus much on how well I felt in my body. It just didn't really cross my mind as much. And I think that's a testament to how much I was focused on studying, really, amongst that early stage, as well as later on in year 11 and year 12. So let me get my notes up. I'm going to properly start off from January 2019. There's a photo of me here, and as you can see, that is of me at school with a mate. So I would say at this point, that was me already moving into a new school. I'd moved from Glen Waverley Secondary College to Suzanne Corey High School, because we moved from the east to the west of Melbourne. And this was year 11. And if, you know, a lot of you guys are doing high school, I'm pretty sure you have, you know that it ramps up more in year 11, year 12, because you your scores actually affect your final ATAR or OP or whatever ranking um, that you have. So I think around this, I'm guessing, I don't actually remember off the top of my head, but just from the looks of it, I think I was around 79 to 80 kilos. And as I said, I was before pretty active in school in terms of exercise. That was just because I wanted to play with my friends. It wasn't because I wanted to exercise. It was more of a social thing rather than, okay, let's try to nail down my eating habits and my exercise habits. It wasn't that. I was still eating pretty badly here. A lot of fast food. And if I went home, I used to always get seconds and maybe thirds because I was a hungry guy. So a big thing to note here is that in around 2019, academically I was still doing pretty well. But then I had actually struck a balance between study and exercise. Again, it wasn't because I wanted to consciously make that balance. It was just I wanted to hang out with my mates. And it was fairly stress-free year 9 to 10. And then when you hit year 11, I can honestly say it became a lot more evident that the pressure from my parents or just from the need to succeed in high school, it got the better of me. And it is an interesting point about balance because it is drilled into you at school to try to balance your studies and exercise, but at the same time it's hard when to stop watching videos or when to stop doing anything other than exercise. Balance is a big thing. And when we come to January 2020, I jumped a decent amount, as you can see in the photos here. I did start letting myself go between year 11 and year 12, and I could blame COVID. That was the year of COVID 2020. But even before that, I was eating very badly. I was not exercising as much as I should have. And really the only exercise I did was, going for a couple of walks during the sunset, playing badminton through a hole in my living room. I might put a photo up. You literally have this random ass hole here, which I think serves some sort of purpose. But we made it into a sort of gap where we played badminton in between, and I probably played that the most. That was where I got most of my exercise during year 12 because I was stuck at home. And obviously that's not good. I do remember doing some dude perfect trick shots into a basket. Obviously it was a B-Tech level of trick shottery, but I did manage a decent amount from one end to the other of the house. Good times. But in terms of my body, in terms of my social life, it went down the drain, really. And it didn't help that when I was in year 12, within my good, close group of friends, we barely went out to play sport during lunch. I point that out because in Glen Waverley, I played and I exercised as a result a lot when I was hanging out with my mates. Whereas in 2020, in year 12, that reliance or that unconscious exercise that I would say got me to that lean or fairly lean point in 2019, that was not there anymore in 2020. So I unconsciously started gaining weight, even though I thought that, you know what, I'm exercising or whatever. It was because I was eating the same amount, which is a decent amount, in 2019, but I was exercising much less. So that scale got tipped over, really. And that's what got me into 88 kilograms at the start of 2020. So yeah, I was barely getting exercise, and so slowly but surely my weight was accumulating. Lockdown doesn't help, screens all day, and I think being in that cycle of waking up, doing school at home, eating, and then watching videos or studying and barely doing exercise, it was a bad cycle to get into, and it wasn't a pretty sight. And I'm sure a lot of students fell into or almost fell into that trap during that lockdown year. And high school exams was really the nail in the coffin in terms of my eating habits. I think I reached 90 kilograms. I do remember weighing myself around this time because I was more conscious about my weight because it was more obvious to me. How I looked was different to what I remember, and it's not like I was keeping track of, wow, you're gaining weight every single week or every single day. It was more so a realization during my year 12 that definitely I have gained a lot of weight. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that, but it was just like I was brushing my teeth and damn, I have lost myself, like physically. Like it's just not a good feeling to have. And at least all that study and lack of exercise resulted in me doing pretty well in my exams in my high school in year 12. But consequently, this is where I started peaking beyond 90 kilograms after high school had finished. And yeah, that phase was really because of starting and working at Oporto. Oporto is a fast food chain. If you don't know, it started off in Sydney. Now it's in Melbourne, and I worked there. I got my first job there late October 2020. And the effect that it had on my body wasn't fun. After high school had finished, I had nothing to do. So, the young person that I wanted to get some new experiences, and the easiest way of doing that was working at a fast food joint near where I lived. And, most importantly, new money, new bank, new independent boy. But it was a focus too much that I didn't. And it was worse than year 12 and year 11 because the only exercise I ever got was at my work. And that was pretty much countered by me eating on shift. So at Oporto, I think a lot of fast food joints, you get a hefty discount. I think I got 50, well, most of the members got 50% off if you ate on shift. And I made the most of that pretty much every second shift. I was eating Oporto food. And Oporto food, especially those loaded fries, which was discontinued, and then I still ate it because I made it myself. So like the fries and the sauces went away. Yeah, it was not a good thing. I don't know what else to say. I was just eating a lot when I was working there, and I was working a decent amount across that holiday between year 12 and university. And I think I peaked around that time, as you can see, at 96 kilograms. Look at me repping that Oporto shirt, you bloody chubby boy. So after that, lockdowns eased over the summer break, and then we finally got back into uni. And uni was pretty decent, I would say, in between that summer holiday Oporto to June 2021, which is the winter break of uni. I lost weight. I do remember, I think I was weighing around 90 kilograms around June 2021. Still big, but yeah, I would say I lost weight more so because I was going to uni. I had to move myself, go to lectures, go to practicals. And it wasn't fully back in person, it was a mixture, but at least that got me moving. And I was still watching the sunsets occasionally and walking. And I think that saved me mentally across the COVID and my year 12 years, just looking or at least walking outside. So June 2021, I point that out because I think that was the day or the month that I started to actually properly focus on losing weight. So before this, I hadn't had a sort of plan about how I wanted to lose weight. It was more so exercise because I was hanging out with my mates, or I wanted to improve myself in that sport. It wasn't because I wanted to work on myself. Now, there was a lot of false starts, I would say, from this point on. Lockdown came obviously in 2021, later in that second half of the year. So semester 2 was all online, but I still decided to run, I think, at least once or twice a week. I started off a bit slower, from 20 to 25-minute runs, but that, over time got longer and longer, and my pace got faster and faster. But that's normal when you get into a good habit of running or lifting or doing exercise, really. So after a couple of weeks of running, I actually developed and stuck to a running route around my neighborhood, and I still do run that route, in addition to two other routes which I interchange between, try to keep things a bit interesting. And yeah, it's very funny how the first time you run and you decide to adventure out, that's when you pick and usually stick with that route. And it's actually a pretty decent route because you get a different view of the neighborhood, and you're next to the man-made river, and it's a really good good run, especially when it's sunrise or sunset. And the neighborhood's not bad. It's not as bad as what people think the West is like, anyways. So by this time, I think I was slowly losing weight from 90 kilograms downwards. I had set myself a rough target of 82 kilograms. I don't know why, it just sounded like a good target, and it just stuck with me after that. And whilst the second sem was fully online, I did have a crush on someone. I don't know why I have this in my notes. Actually, I do know why. I think that crush made me more conscious about how I presented myself or how I looked. So I think that kept me a bit more accountable, even during that fifth or fourth lockdown in the second semester. I did kind of slightly fall into a slum of eating badly again because I was at home most of the time whilst doing university. But again, that was countered by a internship that I did, an admin/support internship at the university over that time from June to December. And it was a great group of people, great group of staff. It was in the civil department, I think. And at least it was something for me to do outside of uni, and outside of the typical work in fast food or sitting in my laptop, having fun, or as I would and have been calling it for my whole life, having rest. When really I was not having rest. It meant that I didn't have as much time to kill and sit around and eat and binge watch movies or YouTube. And from that point on, I had developed at least a sort of steady routine of running and being at least semi-conscious about what I was eating. So hitting February 2022, I would say around 87, maybe 86 kilograms, around that phase. Second year of uni had started. I was back in person, and yeah, I still had that crush. I will not go into that too much, but again, that kept me accountable. Or whenever I was thinking of, going down a bad route. For some reason, that was just in my head. Around February 2022, the Comcel gang, essentially, where we met up in person. Before, we had an online Comcel, but that was tragic. But I remember this because I met up with my church mates almost every Thursday, or the days interchanged, but it was almost every week. And we ate out sometimes. We actually met up with everybody, and that actually forced me to be more conscious of how I was eating, how I presented myself. Again, this is just my reflection. I don't know if this is a good thing to do. It's just how I had viewed it and how I responded to that. So I think it was a good thing health-wise. But also it meant I was a bit insecure, really. That was a guaranteed side effect. But I think that self-awareness is and was, in the long run, better for me, because I think being ignorant of all that, and I was still comfortable around my friends, no matter how I looked. But I think I wanted to look better, and I wanted to be healthier, because I wanted to hang out with my friends more and not be too ashamed of how I looked. And that's just the honest truth, really. So I'm open to hearing, again, all sorts of views. If you want to put your opinions or comment on something, please feel free to do that in the comments. Be as constructive as possible. I am still learning, and life's all about taking stuff in and at the same time spewing all the crap out. Which is ironic, because of how much stuff I was still eating and crap that I was still eating around this time. So yeah, I was still running twice a week, or around that average. That continued strongly into the start of the 2022. And so that sometimes went up to 3. Sometimes there were weeks where I did nothing. And that was very similar to my eating pattern. Sometimes it was actually a healthy week. Sometimes it was a very trash week. And when I mean healthy, I meant replacing any fast food desires with just Subway, which is also fast food, but it's a healthier fast food if I'm at university, or eating the food that I, or most of the time, my parents cooked for me during that time. So I do also want to point out, I did get myself involved more in clubs at university. I met new people, and going to events did distract me from the urge to eat as much. And I think anybody can relate in saying that if you have more stuff to do, if your schedule is more busy, you will not be too focused on eating or going into the habit of eating, really, because I think that's only on your mind, and it gets more on your mind when you've got nothing to do and you get into that binge eating pattern, or if you are watching videos and you're accompanying that, that perfect a couple of eating and watching whatever you want and you're interested in. It's just not there anymore if you push yourself out there. And I think Comcel and clubs and university and the occasional outings as well, that kept me in check. It did not, and it prevented me from spiraling, really, back into post 90 kilogram weights. Allocated time to run and exercise was important as well for me. I think it was after uni or after work, or whenever I had free time, I was thinking of running. Even though I may have not run, at least that made me more conscious of eating less during that day, because I had not run. I was now becoming more aware, of trying to meet or go beyond the amount of energy I was intaking. It really is as simple as that. There's no trick to it. There's no drugs or magic spell to make you or lose weight. All of a sudden, it is really in and out and working with those. In terms of uni, I felt as good as I ever did since pre-COVID, and this wasn't just health-wise, this was also reflected academically. I genuinely felt happy and more healthy. I knew there was still a long way to go, and Again, we're still in the start of 2022, that first half of the year. But I did want to reach that 82 kilogram mark in an as healthy manner as possible. But we'll touch on how I do that later. So now we reached July and hit around 85 to 86 kilograms. As you can see, losing weight once you have lost all that weight initially, it's harder to keep yourself losing weight progressively, because again, it wasn't like I was perfectly eating healthily or exercising every day. I was running more frequently. I did run maybe 3 to 4 times a week around this time. I really only ate bad food significantly whenever I was out with my mates. But snacking was a big problem that I think around that time did get me in terms of my uni and my social life. I think that got a bit better around that time. More friends came to church and at uni as well. Also in work, I tutored and was working at BW now. So at this point, the most stressful part was work and wasn't really uni. I think uni to me was more relaxing. Even though I studied chemical engineering, and even though the content is hard and isn't the easiest thing to do, I think being around your mates and working off of them and going through those concepts together is much easier than going through those concepts by yourself. So I think that made university a bit less stressful. Yeah, I would say that I had lost weight, but not that much during that phase. It was more steady because I think I had reached a sort of comfort zone where I was exercising, but at the same time treating myself with bad food. From November 2022 to December 2022, I point that out because I had moved from Big W to Woolies as a pick packer, and it was a very physically demanding job. Just imagine having to go around your shopping aisles and having to pick up a variety of items from someone's shopping list with a timer that you had to meet, or else you were not pulling your weight in the team. That was pretty much what I was doing. You had to bend down and push a trolley constantly throughout the 4 to 5 hour shifts usually. So that got me sweating everywhere. And I actually did look forward to doing those shifts, and I was still doing uni then. It was I think later on, and I was working whilst also doing my exams, if I remember correctly. And I still ended up doing well in that second semester of my second year. Even though I was working this fairly physically demanding job, I enjoyed it, but I knew that it wasn't a sustainable thing to do. I'd actually dropped. I remember after a month and a half of doing that, I dropped to around 79 kilograms. It made me lose weight very quickly because I also wasn't eating dinner that much because the shifts were nighttime shifts. So imagine going to work, maybe eating like a muesli bar, a banana, and then coming back dead and tired, but it was late at night. I just wanted to sleep. So I didn't eat dinner. I barely ate dinner. So I think that combination of not eating dinner and exercising on the job made me lose a lot of weight quick. So that was pretty mad to think about. It definitely wasn't the best way of losing weight. I did feel tired a lot at the end of working at that. It wasn't a long time I worked at Woolies in that pickpacking capacity. But man, did I actually feel as good as ever in my body. I felt tired, but I felt good. And I started to appreciate at that rough time around December how much weight I had lost. And I remember, this is a sidetrack, I used to hop in and play Minecraft a couple of times after the shifts, and it was late into the night when I was playing. Yeah, it led me to be the leanest, and I would say mentally calm. I don't know why, but that's the way I would describe it. I was less worried about my health at that time, and that was the time, December 2023, where I had hit and finally got to that point, that 82 kilogram mark that I was so looking forward to doing, and I even got below that. So now, December 2023, I had an internship at APA, a project engineering internship at a gas transmission company. I'm not going to bore you with what I did because not everyone finds it interesting. I do, but I did much less Woolly shifts until I think end of January. I just stopped working there. Now, in the internship, compared to Woolies or compared to any fast food or retail job, was, I would say, all around less physically intensive, more mentally draining. I would say it felt good finally to use this big old brain and head of mine to good use, though. Instead of memorizing where the bloody red bean cans or where the bloody olive oil was, in which aisle, and how to more efficiently pick pack bloody people's orders. So that was good. I did sometimes go on site. On site, I meant, where they deliver and where they check in on the gas transmission. And we all use gas. Come on, we know what gas is. To summarize for you, it's just a lot of checking and quality control with information around the site and for each asset that you had to do. Now, during my internship, I did get to visit the Grey Ocean Road and 12 Apostles when I was doing a 3-day stay, and also very recently I went to Mildura. Whilst I did drink coffee and more hot chocolates, I barely drank coffee in office. I was still keeping myself accountable. I was running on average 3 times a week still after work or over the weekends, and I was still meeting up with my ComSol mates pretty much every Thursday, and because I was working pretty much the whole week in the internship, it was after the internship where I met, and I was usually mentally drained, but when you hang out with your mates, even when you're dead or not, it's good times. So I did lose a bit of that lean figure when I was 79 kilograms. So I hit around maybe 82, 83 kilograms, and I was, steadily, cycling between those weights. And I think that's a good habit to see and look back on, because even though I was working a lot, I was pretty much working full time over that summer break, I was still exercising, and I was still being conscious about what I ate. And even on the outings with my mates, it was just me eating a lot, but trying to make up that gains calories by exercising more. And that's really just the formula. So that brings me to the point of 2023. So from March 2023, that was when my internship had ended full time, but I was brought on part time as well. I'm very thankful to my team and those to keep me on. And I've tried to make myself as useful as possible in that team ever since, and I'm still working in a part-time capacity there, which is great. But between March 2023 and currently now July 2023, dead set middle of 2023, I had gone back into uni, and third year, subjects, the difficulty started ramping up. I would say the content got more Kemenj focused, and I had to really put my head down. And in the past 4 months, I have been back and forth at uni and working around 2 days a week at APA. And whilst that is great, keeping myself busy, at the same time, it meant that I had to sacrifice a bit of my running. And I would say I ran on average maybe two to 3 times a week, which is a bit less, than I originally wanted to. But I would say this semester, in terms of my uni work, church, and my exercise. I did strike that balance, and I was much more most of the parts of my life. And I was still meeting up with my church mates every Thursday. I did forget to mention this. I think it was like late 2022 we had started doing this sort of rotation where we exercised badminton, futsal, and basketball. I joined into rotation around late 2022. And we pretty much played that every week. And then we had like a break, and then we played it again every week. So that did help in terms of keeping me grounded and disciplined in my exercise routine. So I think that leads me up to this point. I did do well academically, I would say, in this semester. It wasn't my best performing, but considering all of the work and considering the schedule, the fairly busy schedule that I had, I am proud of how I did in my university. And honestly, from second to third year, I'm proud of how, although I put the effort into university, I wasn't just focused on university. I would say first year, it was much more focused on uni. But second to third year, ironically, I got better scores than first year, and I didn't put as much effort as I did in first year. I still put in my effort, but the main difference was I was doing other stuff. And I think a lot of people don't recognize how much time they waste until they have a busy or packed schedule. And once I realized that I was wasting time, I tried to eliminate a bulk of me watching and wasting hours with videos. Again, don't get me wrong, I was still treating myself in watching videos, and I was still, resting. I wasn't just being that busy guy who's doing everything in every second and trying to make the most of every moment. I knew when to rest, and I think that's a skill that I'm still improving and working on. So now, today, I have my ankle injury recently due to futsal, actually. But that's as of recording this video, so it doesn't really count. If I was to make this video maybe in a month's time, I would expect myself to probably maybe gain a few kilograms because I'm just not incapable of exercising as much or as intensively as I would have liked to. So that's fine. And I think all around my sleeping pattern has actually been fairly consistent. I think in year 2 and year 3, I slept a bit more late than I would have originally did, but I've actually been fairly strict in my sleeping pattern, other than if I was watching a Manchester United game. I usually sleep around 11 to 12, and I wake up after 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That's the sweet spot that I need. So yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about now. I'm just riffing off. But I'd say that it didn't really change that much, really, over my uni life, that sleeping pattern. And I'm grateful to say that I have kept that in, or semi in lock, over the 3 years so far. So yeah, that is pretty much an update from how I have treated myself as segments, I think yearly or half yearly updates on how I have changed and worked on myself. I think my future goals really are maybe just try to stay around and work towards 80 kilograms and set a good habit around that weight, and eventually do some lifting. I think a big thing which I didn't mention here was I didn't go to the gym for lifting or weightlifting. I think naturally I have fairly decent muscles in terms of muscle mass, or without working on it, but I reckon that I have a long way to go in that department, with getting ripped and stacked and getting off the steroids and all that sort of stuff. And also another goal that I'd like to do for future me is maintain that balanced lifestyle, try to work on that as well. Just try to be conscious, and if you need to write it down on the whiteboard they have in your room, do it. Approach people more, take more risks. I think taking risks is such a big thing. And what's the worst that can happen? really, if let's say you ask someone out and they reject you, like, come on, man. I'm a bit of a so yeah, that is all the notes that I have here. Really, am I happy with my weight loss so far? Yes. Can I still improve? Yeah. Am I content with my body? Currently, yes. Well, not with my ankle, but yeah, there is obviously room to improve in terms of the muscle department. That's so cringe to say, but that is just the facts. And I think I'm happy to say that mentally, I have gotten better over the past 3 years. I think being less focused on one thing like uni or work, and try to enjoy that balance in my life, and also at the same time make time for my friends and going out. I think that saved me mentally, and hanging out with people who can make you laugh is a big thing, and I'm grateful to have people who can do that. And hopefully I try to make them laugh, or maybe cringe, or maybe cry. I don't know. That is life. Hopefully this keeps me accountable though, and keeps me on track with my future goals, and I've used this word a lot. It's being conscious about my decision a lot more. And compared to year 12 and year 11, I would say I was more, even before 2019, because I was doing things for the sake of losing weight or sake for keeping my body healthy. It was more of a social thing. And whilst it is at times that, at least I'm aware of how much I need to burn versus how many calories I've taken in. Yeah, I guess a final piece of advice is to push yourself and do that continuously. Like, you can push yourself and then you slump into a comfort zone, and whilst that's fine, you don't want to be too comfortable for too long of a time. You need to keep pushing yourself, because I think it's much better to live off of that challenge or that excitement, and setting yourself future targets. So yeah, that is just a summary of my weight loss journey and weight gain journey at times so far, and I am grateful that I can continue working on that and live not a long life per se. It's not like I would love to live a long life, but that's not really the main goal. I think the main goal is to live as a blessed and productive, and I would say helpful life as possible. And I would love to, try to live in as healthy body to live that life as much as I can to its fullest. So best of luck to you guys if you are in whatever journey you're doing, and whatever problems or maybe even addictions that you're facing. I wish the best. Thank you guys, and I will see you guys later. Peace.